being a mother as a public figure? Well, it's hard because once you have a baby, that's your whole life. And if you don't want to share your baby constantly online, then you have nothing to share. That's kind of why I started streaming, because I'm like, I gotta get a gig going here besides being a mom. Because it's really tough. I mean, I respect any celebrity or public person or anybody here who decides to share or not share their baby's picture online. It's totally a parent choice, and I'm not going to condemn anybody for doing it. It just is hard because some fans, like, I don't want people to be fans of my baby. Like, she doesn't deserve it. She just started out. She's
gotta earn that.
Yeah, she's gotta earn it.
Come on.
Yeah, and B, it's a very strange thing to be known and yet not known, and that sort of asymmetrical relationship is something that's very easy to abuse, and also have a sense, your sense of yourself is distorted, right? Because you have all the advantage over other people, but they're projecting who they think you are onto yourself. And I think that's why a lot of child actors get a little messed up in the head, because they're constantly pleasing adults, but everybody's fawning over them. So they never were able to grow out of that sort of mentality and find who they are, right? And so for tax purposes, I've posted a couple pictures of Calliope. Just so I can put some money into savings for her. But other than that, and I feel like now that she's almost 5, I think at 5 I'm gonna cut it off completely. And it's a really hard thing because I want to share, and I'm still going to share stories and things like that in my newsletter, which I do every other week, or my podcast. But like sharing her face, it feels like I'm signing her up for something she doesn't know that she can do. And also, like, I'm sure we all have things we regret on our phones that we've done, right? Am I the only one? Yeah, and you know, that kind of stuff, like, we see a lot of people, people said something 10 years ago that was like totally socially unacceptable, but you know, they were 13, and how do we gauge the maturity level? Do we give them the benefit of the doubt? Do we condemn them? Do they get punished? Like, it's a really weird world we're navigating now for that, and especially as somebody who has reached beyond who she would as a person based on her ability or what she does. I mean, she will be a professional Fortnite streamer. Just give her time. She doesn't know how to build yet. I'm working on it. Just kidding. We just play Mario right now. Yeah, it's just not I feel like it's not my place to share. And now she's kind of sentient. You know, 5 years old, they're kind of sentient. So I think I'm gonna cut it off.
Only kind of, though.
You know, semi-sentient.
Semi-sentient.
So thank you for asking that. It's something I think a lot about, and I could talk about it 4 more hours at this pace, because that's how my brain works anyway, so. Thank you for asking.
Your friends?
Hi, I was a big fan of the Mystery Science Theater reboot. It was so exciting.
Yes.
Never thought it would happen. My question for you is, do you have a favorite bad movie or B movie, having done that show?
Wow. Well, here's some news. Monday I go back to write on another episode. Writing has been taking place all summer, and it's very exciting. I can't really say any specifics because I'll get in trouble. Maybe even saying that was bad, but hey, don't tweet it.
Don't tell anyone.
Don't tell anyone. The movie's called, no, I was raised in the cone of sci-fi silence. I know how to not spoiler things. Yeah, so I'm really excited to write. It's a detestable movie I hate with all my heart. Like, the last one I wrote on was fun, and I was like, oh, here's some jokes, here's some. This one, I loathe. And like, literally, the riffs I'm writing are like, I hate you, die, fire, this movie needs to be burned, all the people in it need to be burned. I know, I'm serious, it's terrible. So I'm torturing, it's like we're living the show, writing the show, which is fun. Fun? Right? But anyway, no, it's fun working with the other writers, and this movie is so awful, and the jokes are so funny, I'm really certain it's gonna be cool. As far as the ones that, boy oh boy, there's so many good ones. I mean, Manos Hands of Fate is like classic. We got Santa Claus from Outer Space one of my favorites, Mac and Me, is one from last season that I got the flu, so I couldn't write on it. I was supposed to write on it, and I'm so bummed I didn't get to write on that one, because it God, that movie makes me gag. I think 80s puppetry is probably the worst thing. You know how they had that Rubicon Valley? It's just like the Rubicon Valley. It was the puppets of the 80s. Like the Gremlins wannabes and kind of like that.
It's weird, because I've actually worked with the puppetry track, and we were actually watching a panel last night with Puppet Fails, and seeing some of the stuff that came out in the 80s and 90s, and we're like, what were we doing back then?
Puppets.
What were we on? You know, it took us a while to get to like where it's at now. You're at the 80s?
The 80s and 90s. Oof. What was this? I can't read that sign. Oh, what is it? I can't. What is it? Bye. Oh, it was, I gotta go. So, yeah. So it is really cool. I don't know when we're filming. I don't know when the new season will be out, but thank you guys for anybody who contributed to the Kickstarter. It is really amazing. Netflix did not pick it up after the second season on the service, which was a huge bummer. But Joel, being the amazing, inventive person he is, he's reconceived it. There's all these cool things. I don't want to spoil anything, but the host situation, the movies, all of it is like, it's going to be like nothing anyone's seen before with the show. And that's what I love about Joel. Like,
he's fantastic.
He's so fantastic and so creative. He's been working on the same show for so long, and yet he still has fresh ideas. It really is inspirational. So I'm so lucky to play King again, and I can't wait to show you guys new episodes.
It's exciting, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, do you know we have puppets on display here in Atlanta?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so Servo Jarrett's crew and then Tom Servo are at the Center for Puppetry Arts.
Well, there
so
you
when
go.
Joel was here last time, he's like, I got y'all. And he set us up with a display of stuff. Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, it's fantastic over there. So go check it out.
He's a good dude. Yeah, Felicia, he talks like this. I mean, he's so iconic. I actually, when he comes up behind me, I get startled because it's like my TV came out of into the world.
That's wild. Go ahead.
Your memoir, you're almost never read on the internet, is one of my favorite books. I hardly ever read nonfiction.
Oh, thank you.
And it was so relatable, and I loved just reading about your journey with both mental health and fandom and how those two intersect. Since that came out several years ago, how would you say that the conversations around just mental health and respect and everything that's involved with that in fandom has changed?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I wrote that book in 2016, I think. And then I followed it up with another book a couple years ago called Embrace Your Weird, which was, it's a funny self-help, geeky, funny self-help book with lots of writing in it, but also a lot of exercises the reader's supposed to do. So I wrote that one after I had a baby because I didn't know who I was anymore, and it was a real big adjustment to figure out, well, I was this, kind of this geek girl. Now I'm a mom, and I have to let go of things because this baby takes a lot of time. Whoa, I never held a baby before. Why did I have a baby? But it's the best thing in my life, yes. But it was a jarring adjustment. So I think that what is wonderful over the years is that it's been much more acceptable to share your struggles with mental illness. And I think all of it, I hope that a lot of people have discovered they've had issues in their life at one time or another, grappling with mental health issues, but they didn't know about it because nobody talked about it. So you just felt like a failure, or you felt like you were just down, and you didn't realize there are circumstances and chemicals and all these things that affect the way that you behave in a way that might be getting in the way of a life that you could live, or it's something you just have to manage. Like my anxiety, always have it. It's a fun companion inside me that just seizes all the time, under pressure, and that's okay. Like, I just have to know that about me, because when you know yourself, you are able to take care of yourself. And that's, I think, the disconnect before. There was a lot of denial and a lot of not realization about issues.
It's the whole stigma about it.
It's stigma about it, because you can't cure mental illness. Like, there's this thing like you have this congenital thing that you can't fix. And so I had the same thing in my family. You don't acknowledge that, hey, I might just need some help getting through this period in my life. I might need help existing, and that's all okay, wherever you seek it, whether it's, art therapy or talk therapy or medication or EDMR or whatever it is. Like, one of my favorite authors, Jenny Lawson, I don't know if you've read her books. she is incredibly transparent about her depression and all of her mental, but it's so funny. And that's kind of what I hope to do with both of my books, is just me trying to work myself out and trying to make it useful to other people. And I really hope, and thank you for saying that about my book, but I'm really hoping, I'm seeing that more and more in people prominent in the geek world, saying, hey, I suffer from this. And hopefully that just helps even one person. It's worth that sharing.
That's the right way to do that.
Thank
Thank you. And that's one thing I think we've definitely seen. Thanks to the pandemic has been hard, and I won't negate that, but there's been some silver linings where a lot of us had to take the time to get to know ourselves again.
I mean,
so a lot
yes.
of people did the work, and it's incredible to see and how these conversations, but you're right, like, are becoming more frequent, and how we're sharing these experiences. So even though in a state of isolation, people aren't isolated.
Well, that's the wonderful thing about geekdom, is I think that we know how to operate in isolation and loneliness.
Yeah.
We have that, and that's why the internet was the geek's world when it first started, because, you know, we were looking for other ways to connect with other people, because the real life wasn't really cutting it for us, and that's really the norm now. You know, for me, yeah, I mean, I think COVID is one of those things where you can look at it, I mean, it's awful. People have lost people, and people are still, you know, suffering from it. There can also, and we all have this mass trauma and upheaval that we've got in our life that we rarely have. Like, I wrote my book, Embrace Your Weird, out of a transition, and in talking with my therapist a lot, these transitions in life, whether you're going from middle school to high school, or high school to college, or one job to another, or marriage to divorce, or getting married, or retirement, like these big shifts in the patterns of our lives can really affect us mentally in ways that we don't appreciate, right? And so we've all gone through this mass trauma and upheaval, and where can we find positivity in it? Because honestly, what else is there to do?
Yeah.
And so I talked with so many people who came up to me just down in the autograph area, like, I quit my job, or I started doing this hobby because of COVID, or because your book, and that is really where we can all grow. Like, for me, I was forced to let go of a lot of work things that I actually weren't adding to my life. They were stressing me out, and they were giving me mental health and physical health problems. And so when I was forced to be cut off from them, I'm like, I'm happy. Yes, yeah. I'm happy and stable. What?
Yeah.
I'm stable?
Who
Wait,
is this?
Who is this? What's wrong with you? Oh my gosh, I need to have 15 lattes. Now I'm okay.
Oh yeah.
You know, like,
and that's the great conversation, because once you have that normalcy, you're like, I don't know what this feeling is.
you don't. You have to acquaint yourself with it. And it's very hard to find your, because I was very depressed for so long, and I was very anxious for so long, and the feeling of I'm okay is almost feel like, well, you're feeling okay, but you're giving up. Obviously, you're too happy. It's like, and what is that voice? That's it. Who are you? Get out, you know? So I think we all have struggles, and coming together like this and sharing a joy with the new version of ourselves, because we're all different, is an adjustment, but it's also really nice to get to know us and everybody else in this context. So, yeah.
Thank you for that expanded look here.
I love to talk.
Yeah. I can talk therapy all day, and you should too.
I know. Listen, I'm such a good journaler.
We'll go. So bring on up here.
So lots of Rocky Horror Shadowcasts will do like a double feature of like Once More Feeling and Dr. Horrible sing-along vlog.
Yes.
I was wondering if you've ever been to a Dr. Horrible Shadowcast and like what that was like for you.
I have. It was really fun. There were like so many accessories that they had, like spoons and I mean, just so many cool things. And what is so awesome about Dr. Horrible is that I've heard from so many young people. I mean, it's like 12 or 13 years old now, and I have so many young people come up because I think musicals are super in right now, and Dr. Horrible is like one of the hip, it's like a hip musical. Like, am I old for saying the word hip?
I think it's pretty rad.
It's rad, it's tight, it's dope. It's a dope musical, it's whack. Is that whack? Whack is not cool,
I know that we're not
okay?
cool,
You need to
right.
back that one off.
Slow down.
Yeah, it's just a cool musical, and I'm really excited to see new people discover it. Just like like a couple years ago, people rediscovered Buffy because it was like on Netflix for the first time. And like, it's so fun to be a part of something that kind of has a resurgence like that. So yeah, it's wonderful, and I hope that people keep doing the Shadowcast because it should live on.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Crystal?
Hi. So huge fan. I remember seeing you back in BlizzCon, like in 2010, the old time. So,
Wow.
but I'm super happy to hear that there's an MST3 cake question because my husband and I are obsessed. We're so happy we funded the new Kickstarter.
Yay, thank you so
And
much.
we want to know how it feels to be by far the best mad.
Wait, who? Wait, who's best man?
You? Best mad.
Oh, the best dad?
Yeah, Kinga is the best.
Okay, I like the way you talk. I like the way you talk. So I was a huge fan of MST3K, and my brother and I were homeschooled. And when I say homeschooled, I wasn't just like distance learning and I talked to my friends. I didn't have a friend. I did not have a friend. I never had one kid who ever visited me at my house. I'm not exaggerating. So it's really hard for me to relate to anyone at all. But the one thing that me and my brother had in common, because we did fight all the time. You'd think we were the only kids in the house. No, we hate each other. Now we love each other, but as kids we fought all the time over the one TV. But the one thing that we agreed on was Mystery Science Theater. And so when I met Joel, I think it was at Salt Lake City Comic-Con many years ago, he came up to me, he's like, hey, Felicia, I've heard about this guild day. It's cool, man. You want to tell me about it? I was like, oh my God, I gotta get a selfie with that guy just to rub it in my brother's face.
The spite selfie.
It was a spite selfie. That's all I cared about, just rubbing it in my...
Look what I got.
Look what I got. Oh, anyway, and through that conversation of spite, that was motivated spite, I got this job. And when he emailed me, it was the same thing when Joss Whedon emailed me, hey, can you sing, Jay? It was like, Joel was like, hey, you want to be in MST? Like, Jay, it was all these J's. I guess Jay, where's J.J. Abrams? Hello? And so, when he emailed me, I was like, oh, he just wants me to guest star. But I was like, he wants me to do a real role? It was a dream come true. And what was even cooler, you guys, is that even though I wanted to spite my brother, I did hook him up and we did write together too, which was really cool. Don't tell him I love him.
Keep it to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you for that. And I'm really hoping that I get to torture Jonah and Emily and Joel all at once. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. Just so you know, you mentioned Santa in Space earlier. It's Space Mutiny.
Yeah,
It's my favorite.
It's so funny.
Okay, yeah.
It is so funny. I like all the the Hercules one that I wrote on, I think it was season 13. That one made me laugh. So it was the first one I ever wrote on and I was so serious about it.